Hey everyone, how's it going? And thanks for joining us this afternoon. Um, we've got a great topic today, Workforce Planning 2.0. And I am joined today by my good buddy Lucas over at Bridget. And in a second, we'll kind of do introductions. But Lucas, where are you calling in from today?
Just outside of Toronto, up in Canada.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, I'm in Denver today myself. So well, yeah, we've got about 30 minutes, so we'll dive right in. Why don't we start with introductions? And Lucas, if you want to go first and just tell us who you are, a little bit about Bridget, and then I can do the same.
Absolutely. So, my name's Lucas Cugini. I'm the manager of our customer solutions team here at Bridget. Bridget is a strategic workforce planning software that's been purpose built for the construction industry. We really take a people first planning approach to workforce planning, and that's what our software drives. I've been with Bridget for 4.5 years now and have led our integration program from its infancy. So, really excited to discuss connected data, workforce planning, and all things people.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. We were kind of joking before the session today that we share a lot of the same customers. We even have like kind of similar positions in the construction space. Both of us work with about 40% of the ENR 100 from a construction perspective. And just by way of quick introduction, my name is Lucas Hayden with Uninet. I run our product marketing and strategy for our AEC products. And from a construction point of view, we help construction firms run their businesses more efficiently and really capture the kind of growth that they're going for. We work with Bridget. We have a CRM, and we leverage our relationship with Bridget to really kind of bring together workforce planning inside of the pursuit lifecycle in such a way that you can really go after the right projects with the right people to win more quality projects and kind of set yourself up to execute on those right from the pursuit. And it's interesting, Lucas, as we kind of dive in here. One of the things that I find really interesting, particularly in this conversation, when we think about growth, when we think about pursuing new opportunities, and we think about workforce planning, oftentimes from a business perspective, those departments tend to be a little siloed. And I know we were kind of chatting about this in our planning sessions, but what's maybe one of the number one challenges that you see in firms trying to bring alignment to those sometimes disparate pieces of the organization?
You nailed it. Biggest challenge is siloed data and disconnected systems. BD and operations do not work with the same systems, but they're working with the same data. Oftentimes, we're seeing operations teams relying on spreadsheets, multiple spreadsheets across operations leaders to track this data. They're asking for reports from the business development team on what pursuits are we going after, what's been lost, what's been awarded, constantly chasing their tail to make sure that they have the right information on who's locked into a project, who might not be just penciled in anymore. These separate tools, these separate spreadsheets really reduce visibility, cause miscommunication, and make it really difficult to align pursuit strategy with actual delivery capability.
Yeah, no, I love how you said that. And one of the things that kind of follows too is hiring strategy. As you try to understand, your current backlog of work,
Mm.
your soft backlog of work that you're pursuing, and kind of overlay that with your workforce schedule, that kind of really is the leading indicator on when you need to be in market to hire that next person to either crack open whether it be a new sector or to fulfill a certain obligation with a client. What have you seen from kind of a hiring and HR perspective when it comes to really being able to get your arms around resource planning from your point of view?
We talked about BD and operations being siloed, but we need to bring HR into the fold as well. When we're looking at forecasting and planning, like you mentioned, maybe you're going after a data center, but you don't have anybody with data center experience, or you have people with data center experience that might have interest in doing something else. So finding those gaps is key. And that's where bringing pursuit data, people data, and experience data all together are really going to help you uncover where you might need new work, different work, or new people, keeping the individuals you have engaged and making sure that you can deliver on the projects that you have awarded or that you're actually going after.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting as we kind of think about the cultural aspect of workforce planning. Um, People want to know what they can expect, as a part of their professional life. And a couple of the things that I've been seeing in terms of trends in the industry is that BD and marketing operations teams are trying to do more with less.
Mhm.
And they're kind of looking to technology to help them do that. One of the areas or kind of the questions that you kind of wander into in that kind of technology and definitely the AI space is, okay, is this going to come in and take my job? Is this going to make my job easier? Is it going to add friction? And the thing that I've been seeing in the market is that by and large, firms want to leverage technology and AI to make their employees more effective and
Yes.
more efficient, which are kind of importantly, two different things. But I think like the overall theme that I'm hearing is that they want to use tools like this to amplify staff and to bring them together, like you've been describing. And long lead up to my question here, what is, from your perspective, what's the impact on employee morale and culture when you have tools that are kind of working in the flow of work that are kind of amplifying the effectiveness of the workforce that you're planning out? What's the impact on culture that you see?
I've seen it really, really improve employee experience and engagement.
Mm.
Uh, it drives that culture of being efficient without having to worry about where that efficiency is coming from. So, utilizing the tools that you have available to you. Don't shy away from the technology that might give you an insight. At the end of the day, you're always going to be a human being making the ultimate call, but utilizing AI to make sure that you are getting the best insight with the data that you have available to you. If it can support career growth and fair workload across workforce planning, if it can ensure that somebody who's 20 minutes away from the job instead of 2 hours away from the job is being staffed into that project manager position, ultimately it has a net positive impact on the people doing the planning and the people that planning impacts.
Yeah, yeah. You said something that I really liked how you said it. You said getting efficiency without without caring too much about where that efficiency comes
Yeah.
from. I think that's really key. Like when we look across the industry. I had the opportunity earlier this year at an AGC event to hear an economist's view on just like what's going on globally. How's that impacting construction? And one of kind of the indicators or things that he was leaning into was the impact on the on labor force. And again, going back to that theme of having to do more with less, even from a production perspective. And so
Mhm.
I think that's a good word that you said there about being open to where your efficiency gains can come from when it comes to people, all the while supporting a healthy culture. I want to switch gears here a little bit and talk a little bit about the requisition process and kind of where workforce planning sits into that. To kind of maybe frame up the question here, when I think about the proposal life cycle or the pursuit life cycle, there's you go to a business meeting, a lunch meeting, you find out about a potential project, whether it be net new or repeat work. Early on in that pursuit, if you will, you have to make a decision on like, okay, do we want to go after this? Do we want to commit resources to going after this? Assuming that's a check, you do enter different iterations of pursuit management. You've got go, no go, you get your proposal drafting, branding, things like that. Where, from your experience, where's the best point in that life cycle to start talking about a workforce plan for that piece of work?
So when to start thinking about workforce planning really is as early as possible. It even comes in before an individual piece of work.
Yeah.
We want to be leading firms that we work with away from reactive last minute planning. We want to treat it as this continuous proactive process that's constantly looking 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however long out into the future, where there might be a piece of work there, or there's a growth goal that you might have for the organization. What people do you need to have in place? How much industry experience, how much company experience should they have before we get to that point in time? So looking at a project 5 years out, there might be a hiring decision that needs to be made 3 years before that project even hits.
Yeah.
We want to identify those gaps in both people and projects to make decisions about which pursuits to chase and which people we need to have on staff that are, familiar with the ways that we work.
Yeah. Yeah, that's well aligned with kind of my perspective on that too. A lot of the things that we work with people on is how to determine which pursuits to go after.
Yeah.
And, certainly one of the legs on that table is, do you have the people to go after this? And one of the ways that I think is kind of fun and exciting that we're doing that is we're leveraging AI kind of in that very early stage of the pursuit, really before it even becomes a true opportunity, to kind of evaluate what are the resources, what are the skills we have, what kind of work have we done with this client, like what's our likelihood of winning this work based on who might be competing for it, things like that. But to your point, the workforce conversation, it has to be there from day zero, because even in the opportunity stage, there's people that are going to be pulled off or away from active work to pursue that work. I know a question I ask clients all the time is through a utilization lens is, do you consider opportunity work or pursuit hours in your utilization considerations? And so that's always kind of a good conversation. In the process of the pursuit life cycle, and with the aim of kind of entering into the workforce planning conversation as early as possible, what kinds of things does Bridget do to help enable that?
So, our integration with Uninet is probably one of the bigger pieces that's going to help enable that by getting that pipeline pulled in.
Sure.
What you did mention was experience, and that's something that we're also very tied into, where experience helps win work. So highlighting that experience, who has worked with that client, that architect on a job that is 15 million, 25 million, et cetera. We like service those insights. But as you mentioned, pursuit work is not always a real allocation. So we also see that on our side of things. You can pencil somebody in, you can have a soft hold on that individual, but you're able to see the over allocation on pursuit versus active jobs. So it really does help us make sure that the work that you're going after, who might be working on it, who you propose to the client. So really just providing that visibility across operations, BD, marketing, and HR to make sure that your people are where they're supposed to be and that you have the right people to do the work.
Yeah, having that full view of essentially everything that's on the table,
Exactly,
versus everything that's on your bench is so critical. And one of the things that I've been kind of just hearing in the market, just anecdotally, is dealing with either funding or projects being put on hold, things like that, or ambiguity around that for certain pursuits. I would imagine that having kind of that seamless view, both for BD, operations, HR, can really help kind of mitigate risk in that cycle that we sometimes experience in construction of either slow down, pause, funding reallocation, things like that. What are some of the ways that you've seen kind of that minutia be mitigated?
So we're definitely seeing a lot of the slowdown right now, a lot of projects being put on hold, and being able to seamlessly integrate that data into your workforce planning tool to flag without having to have business development come and say, hey, this job's no longer real for the time being. It's actually being pushed out to 2027. Allows you to go and backfill that gap that you might have.
Yeah.
So making sure that you have timely insight to these changes, immediate action can be taken, making sure that your people are staffed, your bench doesn't start to grow. That's what organizations don't want, but also the people that are at the org. They don't want to be on the bench. They want to be out. They want to be working. They want to be growing their careers.
Yeah.
So keeping those people engaged through those timely updates is definitely a very key way of mitigating those delays and the unforeseen changes that might happen to the work that you have planned.
Yeah, and I know we were talking earlier today about oftentimes as a firm matures, they'll leverage things like it's what you can put your hands on quickest, which is spreadsheets,
Yep.
things like that. And one of the things that I kind of picked up on in what you were saying was the value of having real time data to handle those either slowdowns or pauses or pivots, what have you. And there's some real pitfalls that can come from not knowing exactly who's on what and when. Man, I remember one of the clients that I've worked with in the past, they had this sentiment that they were so disciplined in their workforce planning that they could tell their clients like, well, we can't start on Tuesday, but we can start on Wednesday. And I'm sure you've got files and files of those kinds of anecdotes as well. But the only way that they can do that is by having live workforce planning data.
Accurate, timely data, key.
Yeah.
Being able to make a data-driven decision in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to spend some time chatting about the kind of the data side and some of the tools. And we can't have a public conversation today without talking about AI. But
it's impossible.
I know it's impossible. We've gotten through like almost 20 minutes without really saying much about it. That's kudos to us. Before we do that, though, I do want to, because I don't want to forget, I wanted to highlight a couple of reports. I'm going to ask our producer, Rachel, to toss these up here. A lot of the information that we're kind of leaning on, the data points that we're leaning on, trends in the market, come from a couple different reports. And Lucas, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about your State of Workforce Planning report?
Yeah, so the 2025 State of Workforce Planning is a free report that we have generated. It captures what construction leaders are thinking about workforce planning, the way they think about integrating CRM, HR tools. The way we gathered this data was, we surveyed 200 construction executives from some of the largest GCs across the US, Canada, UK, and Australia to really gain their insight. So it's not localized to a single market. This is really the true state of, some of the largest markets in the world and how big construction executives are thinking about it.
That's really cool. Yeah, and of course, the items that I'm referring to come out of our what we call our AEC Inspire report, which very similarly, we interviewed for this year's, I think we ended up interviewing 300 leaders across AEC, got some great information about kind of the state of resource management and planning. Also did some questions around just kind of the cultural aspects, like what's the average age in AEC? Like what are things that your resources as a construction company are thinking about in terms of what they want from their career, what kind of career development paths. And so we've got a supplement to that report called the Talent Imperative that you're welcome to download as well. So quick aside before we kind of dive into the back part of our talk here on data, on where you can kind of read more about some of the things that Lucas and I are chatting about. Lucas, let's start with connected systems. Speaking of the Inspire report, and I'm sure that you guys are seeing this in the workforce planning as well, is one of the biggest challenges in an organization, in a construction organization, is the ability to forecast and the ability to integrate multiple points of data, project, opportunities, HR, workforce planning into kind of a seamless view. And for our kind of talking point sake, we'll call that connected systems.
Yep.
Um, what do you feel like connected systems within the organization can do for smarter decisions, better teams? Where have you seen that be effective for your clients?
At the lowest level, you're able to eliminate and find efficiencies in places that you can just accept by eliminating double data entry. You're keeping things up to date. So the first part of making strong decisions is having accurate, timely data. We're also seeing faster, more accurate forecasting. So you're tying in your HR hiring needs, you're tying in your pursuit data, you're breaking down those data silos that we talked about earlier by connecting all of your platforms to be able to see the full picture. You know who you have, what projects you're going after, you know what their interests are. So when we're tying into performance management type systems, you're able to see what that person might have written on their last review of a growth area. So you can make a decision around growing that employee by putting them on the right jobs. As we were talking about, go, no-go decisions, we can see the impact of potential wins on staffing in real time by having a business development team member go and say, yeah, we locked this job down. Now, all of a sudden, all of those allocations that you've created become real. You're able to communicate those things to people earlier. You're not having last minute decisions, less chaos across your planning by connecting these systems and making sure that you have that full picture across the organization, across teams. That's really where we're seeing the benefit for not just operations or the people at the company. It's the entire org is benefiting from connecting their data.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's worth mentioning too that like the organization's clients are ultimately kind of the benefactors
Absolutely.
of a smoother operating company, which is great. When I think about what you just described as like dream state, obviously,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of steps kind of like along the maturity model to get there. Let's say I'm a mid-market construction company today. I'm running on spreadsheets. I've got data in multiple places. What's one step that I could take today to start beginning to realize some of the kind of euphoria of of fully connected operations?
Start thinking about the data points that you use to make the decisions. When you are sitting down and making a strategic choice, what data do you need that might be created from a different team? Now, go to that team and make sure that they are creating that data. You're storing it, you're creating those data rules before we start tying into any other systems. When we go through the integration process, we typically find a lot of holes, a lot of issues, bad data,
Yes.
incomplete data, very unhygienic. And that drives those customers to go and fix those problems. Now, it does slow down the integration process, but ultimately it makes them better and starts to develop a data strategy for some of our smaller companies.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. We were talking beforehand, and we've got similar experiences kind of in like the integration and solutions world. And bad data is one of the usual suspects of not getting like the full benefit of some of those things. And I can't help but we made it 26 minutes, but I can't help but think about that in terms of the AI conversation as well. I've started seeing a I won't say a shift, but I'll say a balancing of the AI conversation to really start focusing on like, ooh, we've got to make sure our structured data is clean, and we need to make sure that our unstructured data is accessible in order to like make the most of AI. And I'm sure that you've got a perspective on that as well. But yeah, I mean, I fully agree that data hygiene is kind of quickly becoming like the next initiative for a lot of firms out there as they prepare for more tech innovation.
Yeah, you said something interesting there, the structured and unstructured data. AI's biggest capability is taking unstructured data and structuring it, and then taking that structured data and providing you with an insight. So that's where just having the data in the first place is key to starting on this journey to really being able to take advantage of what AI can do for you and to give you insights that you would never have before. Tracking small things like square footage and contract size and architect, that will start to hydrate all of your decisions with additional data, additional insight.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I love that word, kind of hydrate and nurture that data. As we come down to the last few minutes here, Lucas, what would be kind of one piece of advice that you would leave construction firm leaders with on the future of workforce planning as you guys, kind of look out at the future of this discipline? What's a piece of advice you would have people leave with?
Ultimately, embrace automation and AI. Don't shy away from it. I don't see it taking construction jobs or all of the scary words that people throw around about AI. Use it for what it's good at.
Yeah.
Gaining insight, providing visibility, driving cross-team collaboration through those insights, and forcing teams to work together to have data available to make those choices. Move away from manual spreadsheets. Even if it's working, it might not be the best because you're stuck in that time period. Firms that invest in integrated solutions will be able to forecast their needs, optimize talent utilization, and respond very quickly to changing project demands, as we've seen in the last couple of years.
Yeah, no, I love that. And, I feel like, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that, a lot of firms can take advantage of the kind of the handshake that, Uninet and Bridget have in kind of pulling together the full kind of robust story of what to pursue, the people available to those pursuits, and the people to go after those things with in a controlled and thoughtful way. And so, yeah, I know we were talking before. I think we've been in partnership, gosh, several years now, have lots of clients in common. And maybe as we close out, what's one of the biggest points of feedback you hear from people benefiting from kind of that combined effort between Uninet and Bridget?
We've said it again and again, but it's the increased efficiency of working between operations and BD. They're starting to understand
Yeah.
what each other need, and when we integrate, it brings to the surface the holes that we have in process and data. But at the end of the day, those two teams become much more connected. They're able to attack good work, the work that's going to drive the business forward. I would leave you with, if you can integrate, I always suggest it. It makes your life a lot easier not having to key in data, but there's benefits abound outside of the day-to-day processing of these things.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I'm in Denver downtown today, and was in Chicago last week. And as I look at like the cityscapes and just see like the built world that construction is building, it never ceases to amaze me that we can just play a tiny little role in the great things that the industry and our clients are doing. So I guess as we close out, Lucas, great chatting with you as always. Thanks for working with us to have this conversation, and thank you everybody else for joining us and spending part of your day with us. And as we sign off, Lucas, I'll give you the last word here and say again, thank you very much.
Yeah, no, thank you. We love working with Uninet. I've got my Uninet Technology Partner of the Year plaque sitting on my desk at all times.
Nice.
So it's been a pleasure, and thank you everybody for tuning in. And hopefully we'll have some more fruitful conversation moving forward.
Cool.